Hello students, I hope you all are fine and taking care of your health. So today we are going to start new chapter, chapter 2, nutrition in animals. So in this chapter we'll study about animal nutrition, different steps in the process of nutrition, modes of procuring food, digestion in human, tooth decay and toothache, and nutrition in amoeba and nutrition in ruminants. Now first we will discuss about animal nutrition. We have already studied about nutrition in previous classes as well, and in chapter 1 we studied about nutrition in plants. In this chapter we'll study about nutrition in animals. We all know that all the living organisms, including human beings, they need food for their growth and for repairing damaged cells of their bodies, and also for obtaining energy to carry out all the life processes. Okay, and so we can say animal nutrition is process of taking food by an organism and its digestion, absorption and utilization in the body. Okay, so in this chapter we'll study about nutrition in animals, and we'll also discuss about different steps in the process of nutrition. Now here we will discuss about different steps in the process of nutrition. First is ingestion, second digestion, third absorption, fourth assimilation, and fifth is egestion. Okay, so here one by one we will discuss all these steps. First step is ingestion. Ingestion means in this we take food with the help of our mouth and hands. So we can say we are ingesting the food. So ingestion is the process by which the food is taken inside the body of an organism, and different animals they ingest food in different ways, and some have special organs for this process. So we can say ingestion is taking food by the organism. Then after that, second step is digestion. Digestion means the process of breakdown of complex insoluble food substances into simple soluble food substances with the help of digestive juices prepared by the body. So after ingestion, second step is digestion, in which food is digested. Then after digestion, next step is absorption. So we know that this digested food has to be absorbed by the body. So we can say absorption is, in this process, the simple soluble digested food substances are absorbed into the blood. Okay, so this is called absorption. Now after absorption, next step is assimilation. Assimilation means in this step the simple soluble substances, food substances, are transported to the different parts of the body where they are utilized for energy, growth and repair. So in this process the absorbed food is transported to different parts. So this is called assimilation. And then last step of this process, means last step of this nutrition process, is egestion. Egestion means undigested and unabsorbed food which is not utilized by the body, that food is removed from the body. So this process is called egestion. So this is the final step of nutrition. So all these 5 steps are the main steps of process of nutrition: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. Now next is modes of procuring food. The modes of procuring food into the body varies in different organisms, and each organism has some special structure on its body to procure food. For example, human beings, they procure food with the help of hands. Means we use hands to take food into the mouth. And if we talk about ruminants are the animals, like they are grass eating animals, and they are also called ruminating animals such as cow and horse. So these animals, they pick up the food directly into their mouth. And if we discuss about paramecium is also having different mode of procuring food. It is a unicellular organism and it has fine hair-like structures called cilia all over its body, and the constant movement of this cilia pushes the food particles along with the water current into its mouth. So this paramecium is having different mode of procuring food. So they take their food with the help of this cilia, which is hair-like structures all over their body. Okay. Now here we will discuss modes of procuring food in hydra and spider. Now what is hydra? Hydra is a simple multicellular animal and it has large number of tentacles around its mouth, and these tentacles entangle small aquatic animals and kill them with their stinging cells, and then the food is pushed inside the mouth. So in hydra, the modes of procuring food is different. They take their food with the help of these tentacles, and then these tentacles help them to entangle small aquatic animals, and then they kill them, and then these are pushed inside the mouth. Now next we'll discuss about modes of procuring food in spider. We know that spiders weave a sticky web, and small insects get trapped in these webs. Then the spider, they inject digestive juices in the body of insects, and which digest all the parts of the body, and then these spiders, they suck up the digested food. So here in hydra as well as in spider, modes of procuring food, means modes of taking food into the mouth, is also different. Now here we'll discuss about modes of procuring food in frog and insects. First we'll discuss about frog. Do you know that a frog has long and sticky tongue? Yes, it catches its prey with the help of its long sticky tongue. And when an insect comes near the frog, it pushes out its sticky tongue and catch the insect. So in this, the mode of procuring food is different. Now next we'll discuss about mode of procuring food in insects. Insects like butterflies, houseflies, mosquitoes, all these are having different mouth parts, means their mouth parts are modified to form a feeding tube, and these feeding tubes are called proboscis. They suck liquid food with the help of these feeding tubes, and it's similar to the way we sip drink with a straw. So we can say these are the modes of procuring food in different animals, means different animals, they have different way of procuring their food. Now here we will discuss about digestion in humans. Okay, we know that we take in food through the mouth and digest it and utilize it, and the undigested parts of the food, these are expelled from the body, and the food passes through a long muscular canal called alimentary canal, and it is also called digestive tract. This alimentary canal or digestive tract begins at the buccal cavity and ends at the anus. So we can say the alimentary canal consists of buccal cavity or oral cavity, and esophagus or food pipe, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and anus. Okay, and along with this alimentary canal, we have some glands which help in digestion of the food, and these glands like the salivary glands, liver and pancreas, these release digestive juices and convert complex insoluble food substances into simple soluble food substances. So we can say the digestive tract and the associated glands together constitute our digestive system. So in this chapter, we will study in detail how our digestive system works. As we know that there are different steps of nutrition. So here in human beings, we will also discuss all the steps. So first step, we have already discussed that first step is ingestion. So ingestion means taking of food into the body. So in human beings, we have mouth for ingestion of food, and the food is taken into the body through the mouth with the help of hands. Now next step is digestion. We know that after ingestion, the next step in the process of nutrition is digestion. Now here we know that from the mouth, the food goes into the buccal cavity or oral cavity, and this buccal cavity contains teeth, tongue and salivary glands. Next we will discuss about teeth and their types. We know that we eat food with the help of our teeth, and teeth break the food into small pieces and chew and grind it, and this chewing mixes the small pieces of food with saliva, and this process is called mastication. And this digestion of food inside this buccal cavity is called mechanical digestion. And we can divide teeth on the basis of their shapes and their functions. So on the basis of their structure and functions, teeth are of 4 types. These are incisors, canines, premolars and molars. Now what are incisors? Incisors are called cutting teeth. They are 4 flat and blade-like teeth present in the front part of each jaw. So we can say we have 4 incisors in front and 4 in each jaw. So these teeth, they are called cutting teeth because they are used to cut and bite the food. Then after incisors, next we have canines. These are present on either side of the incisors. So these are 2 in number in each jaw, and these are sharp and pointed teeth, and they help in tearing the food. Then after canines we have premolars. Premolars are next to canines, means each canine, and they are 4 in number in each jaw, and these are broad and they have flat grinding surfaces. So they also break the food into smaller pieces and help in grinding the food. After premolars we have molars. The remaining teeth in each jaw are 3 molars on either side of the premolars. So these are also grinding teeth. They help in grinding and crushing the food. They have broad and flat grinding surfaces, and they are also larger than premolars. Okay. So these are the types of teeth on the basis of their shapes and functions. Now next we will discuss about temporary and permanent teeth. We know that in human beings the teeth grow twice. Twice means 2 times. The temporary set of teeth grow when the child is in the age group of 6 months to 8 years. And these are also called milk teeth, and they are smaller and weaker, and these are 20 in number, 10 in upper jaw and 10 in lower jaw. And these teeth, they grow again after the milk teeth fall out. So when the new teeth come, this second set of teeth is called permanent teeth. Why they are called permanent? Because they remain till old age, And the milk teeth are called temporary teeth because they fall out and they are not permanent, and they are replaced by new set of teeth. So the permanent teeth, remain till old age, and this set is called permanent teeth. They cannot be replaced by any teeth, by any natural teeth, and these are 32 in number, 16 in upper jaw and 16 in lower jaw. So here in this diagram we can see these are four incisors in each jaw, two canines, and then four premolars and six molars. So these are called permanent set of teeth because they remain till old age. Next topic is tooth decay and toothache. We know that when we eat food, some bits of food get stuck between our teeth, and when we do not brush properly, then these food particles get mixed with saliva and react with bacteria present in our mouth and forms a sticky layer, and this sticky layer is called plaque. And if we do not brush properly, then this sticky layer reacts with sugar and forms acids with sugar present in the food and causes holes or cavities in the teeth. So this is called tooth decay. And as a result, the nerves and the blood vessels in the pulp get exposed, and when any cold or hot object come in contact with these nerves, then we feel pain. So we can say tooth decay is very painful, and it can cause many problems like holes or cavities in the teeth, foul smell, losing of teeth, and toothache and stomach disorders also. Okay, so to prevent this tooth decay, we can take care of our teeth properly by avoiding sweets or too many chocolates or ice creams, and by brushing our teeth properly 2 times in day. Twice a day means morning and at night before going to bed, and we must also floss our teeth every day so that the food particles can be removed from the in between the teeth. So this will prevent tooth decay and will keep our teeth healthy. Now next part of our buccal cavity is tongue. Tongue is fleshy muscular organ which is attached at the back to the floor of the buccal cavity, and it is free at the front and can be moved in all directions. And we know that it is very important part, and because it perform many functions, like it help in mixing saliva with food, and it also help in pushing and swallowing the food into food pipe, and it help in speaking also. And we get different taste with the help of the taste buds present in our tongue. So we have mainly 4 taste buds on our tongue. These are salty, sour, bitter and sweet. So we can taste our food items with the help of these taste buds. Now next we will discuss about salivary glands. The function of salivary glands is to produce saliva, and this saliva contains an enzyme called amylase. This enzyme breaks down the starch present in the food into simple sugars. Okay, and this saliva also makes the food wet and slimy so that it can be easily swallowed. You all must have observed when you chew bread, and you must have observed that it tastes sweet on chewing. Why? Because this saliva gets mixed with it, and this enzyme means amylase. This break down the carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate of the bread into simple sugar. So this is the reason why bread tastes sweet on chewing. Okay. Now this is the diagram of digestive system of our body. As we have already discussed about buccal cavity, which consists of salivary glands, tongue and teeth. We also discussed about esophagus, which is also known as food pipe. Now we will discuss in detail about stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver and pancreas. So all these are organs of our digestive system and parts of our digestive system. One by one we will study these organs and their functions and their role in the process of digestion. Next is pharynx and esophagus. The chewed food is pushed into a long and narrow muscular tube called food pipe or esophagus through another short muscular tube which is called pharynx. You can see this in this picture. In this, the food means slightly digested food enters the food pipe, and the walls of the esophagus start contracting and expanding to push the food down into the stomach. And this process is known as peristalsis, means the pushing down of food by the walls of the esophagus in a wave-like action is called peristalsis. And here in this esophagus, no digestion takes place. This only helps in pushing down the food into stomach. Next we will discuss about stomach. As we know that from the mouth food goes to food pipe, means esophagus, and from the esophagus food goes to stomach. Stomach is a J-shaped thick-walled organ present on the left side of the abdomen, and it is the widest part of the alimentary canal. And the inner wall of the stomach contains gastric glands, and these glands secrete gastric or digestive juices. And these juices contain three substances: hydrochloric acid, pepsin and mucus. Hydrochloric acid kills many harmful bacteria that enter with the food, and it makes the medium in the stomach acidic, which enhances the action of digestive enzymes. And the function of pepsin is to digest the protein in the food to form simple soluble substances called peptones. And the mucus which is present in this protects the inner lining of the stomach from the action of enzymes and acid. So consequently, the food gets converted into a partially digested semi-solid food called chyme, and chyme leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine. Next is small intestine. Food from the stomach now goes to small intestine. Small intestine is the longest part of our alimentary canal, and it is about 7.5 meter long. Small intestine receives secretion from two glands, liver and pancreas. And the wall of the small intestine also secrete digestive juices called intestinal juices. Here, the partially digested food gets mixed with pancreatic juices, bile juice, and intestinal juices, and the process of digestion completes in the small intestine. And we can say here the digestion of food is complete, and digested food is absorbed by the walls of the small intestine. Okay. Now next is liver. Liver is a reddish brown gland situated in the upper part of the abdomen. on the right side, and it is the largest gland in the body, and it secretes bile juice which help in digestion of fats. Fats are present as big droplets in the food. Because of this, they cannot be easily digested, and so this bile juice breaks these big droplets into small droplets and make their digestion and absorption easier. So we can say liver is the organ which produce bile juice. Bile juice is stored in a sac called gallbladder, which is located near the liver, and this helps in digestion of fats. Now here we'll discuss about role of pancreas in process of digestion. Pancreas is a large cream colored gland located just below the stomach, and it secretes pancreatic juice and releases it into the intestine, means small intestine. The pancreatic juice acts on carbohydrates and proteins and changes them into simple forms. So next we'll discuss intestinal juices. The partly digested food now reaches to the lower part of the small intestine, and we can say in small intestine digestion is completed, and the enzymes in the small intestine, they act upon the partially digested food and convert it into simple soluble substances. As a result, the carbohydrates get broken into glucose, the fats get broken into fatty acids and glycerols, and the proteins get broken into amino acids. And vitamins and minerals present in the food, they do not need to be changed, and as they can be easily absorbed by our cells. So we can say here in small intestine, our food items are broken into simple soluble substances. Now here we'll discuss about absorption in the small intestine. As we have discussed that absorption and digestion of food is completed in small intestine. So after digestion, this food is absorbed by the walls of the small intestine. The inner wall of the small intestine has millions of finger-like projections. These are called villi, and each villus has a network of thin and small blood vessels called capillaries, and these villi give the inner walls of the small intestine a large area for the absorption of digested food. Okay, and the surface of the villi absorb the digested food and passes them to the fine blood vessels, and the absorbed food is carried to all the cells of the body by the blood. So we can say this food is utilized by the cells to release energy. So next is assimilation of food. Assimilation is the final stage in the process of digestion. Here in this process, blood carries the absorbed food from the small intestine to different parts. Okay, and this food is utilized by the body. We know that in the cells, glucose breaks down with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. And amino acids, they are used for building and repairing body parts, and fatty acids and glycerol, they act as energy reserves, and they are stored under the skin for further use. Okay, so here we can say digestion of food is completed, and it is absorbed and transported to all parts of the body. Now the last step of this process is ingestion. The food that remains undigested and unabsorbed passes from small intestine into large intestine, and this large intestine is wider and shorter than the small intestine. It is about 1.5 meter in length. Large intestine has two parts, colon, which is upper part, and rectum, which is lower part. Colon absorbs water and some salts from the undigested food, and due to this, this food become dry and semi-solid. So this semi-solid waste, which is known as feces, is stored in the rectum and then it passes out of the body through anus. So this was the whole process, how digestion of food takes place in our body and how it is absorbed and utilized by the body and how undigested food is thrown out of the body. So now we have discussed all the steps in the process of digestion of food. Now next we will discuss about nutrition in amoeba. Amoeba is a microscopic single-celled organism which is found in ponds and pools, etc. And it has finger-like projections known as pseudopodia, or they are also known as false feet, and it is used for locomotion and for capturing food. So amoeba keeps on changing its shape by pushing out these false feet, and all the processes of nutrition are performed by single cell of amoeba. So now we will discuss different steps of nutrition in amoeba. So first we'll start with ingestion. Amoeba eats tiny microscopic plants and animals as food which float on water on which it lives. And when an amoeba encounters a suitable organism, it pushes out two pseudopodia around the organism and gradually the tips of pseudopodia fuse with each other. And as a result, the food is engulfed with a little surrounding water to form a food vacuole inside it. So this is how ingestion takes place in amoeba. Then after ingestion, second step is digestion. The enzymes from the surrounding cytoplasm enter the food vacuole and break down the food into simple soluble substances. Okay, and then after that digestion, the next step is absorption. The digested food present in the food vacuole is absorbed directly into the cytoplasm, and then after absorption, next step is assimilation. The digested food absorbed by the cytoplasm is stored or utilized for its growth, development and multiplication and release of energy. And then at the end, the last step is egestion. The undigested food gets collected inside the vacuole and the cell membrane suddenly ruptures at any place and the undigested food is thrown outside the body by the vacuole. So this was the process of nutrition in amoeba and all the steps of nutrition in amoeba. Now next we will discuss about nutrition in ruminants. What are ruminants? Ruminants are grass-eating animals such as cows, buffaloes, deer and sheep. And you all must have observed these animals keep on chewing their food. Do you know why? Because these animals they eat their food quickly and swallow their food and then they move to a safer place. Why they move to safer place? Because they are herbivores and they, to avoid being caught by carnivores, they swallow their food quickly and then they move to safer place and bring their food back into the mouth and then chew that food again. And this process of chewing food is called rumination. And their stomach is also different. Their stomach is divided into 4 chambers known as rumen, reticulum, omasum and abomasum. And this type of stomach is called compound stomach. The food that is swallowed goes into the first chamber, which is called rumen, and here it is partially digested and is also called gut, and then it goes to second chamber known as reticulum, from where it is returned to the mouth for thorough chewing. After thorough chewing and mixing with the saliva, the re-chewed food is swallowed again, and it now bypasses the first 2 chambers and it enters the third chamber, which is known as omasum. Here it is broken down into smaller pieces, and then the food enters the fourth chamber, that is abomasum. Here, a kind of gastric juice containing an enzyme and hydrochloric acid is secreted, and the process of digestion comes to an end. And the digested food now passes into the small intestine. Here, the absorption of food takes place, and the undigested food passes through the large intestine and is digested from the body. So, we can say the process of digestion in ruminants is entirely different, and they have different stomach having 4 chambers. And this was the how digestion of food takes place in these ruminants. So I hope you have understood all the topics. Thank you.